Hello. Hello, little one. Frida, Reba Darcy, and one Patricia O'Connor here. And it is our Monday drop. Got a big watering can here. And I'm not going to have to use it a lot. I'm going to give my cypress trees a little clumsy doing this one-handed. Actually, I guess I normally do this one-handed, but I probably normally do it with my left hand. I'm dyslexic and ambidextrous, but I'm predominantly left-handed, just to make sure I'm even more awkward. I'm predominantly left-handed. And then I'll give it little sister cypress a little slurp. Now, that, when I got up this morning, it was raining, and it stayed cloudy and rainy for a couple of hours, but the clouds were moving very, very fast. It is December 26th, I think, and Monday, December 26th. And you can see that my trees are starting to, even my my trident maple is finally starting to show where it's losing all of its leaves. I'll be glad for that. So that's what's going on there. But I thought I would talk about watering. You just saw me water the cypress trees, and that's because with all the rain we've been having, none of these trees on the rail are going to need watering. In fact, I can even see where the soil is wet to there. So that's from there to there, probably to the same side on the other side. But just to make sure, we'll give this guy, we'll give our Chinese wisteria some water. We'll give our other wisterias some water, and that's our lemon cypress that we found in the back seat of the car during our lift job last year. This time last year, Frida and I were killing it in the streets of San Francisco, driving during COVID. It was kind of surreal. That's our bougainvillea. It always likes a good drink of water, so we gave it one. Both of those wisterias, I'll make sure that both of these wisterias got a good drink. And then we're going to move to other water-related things. As some of y'all know, I got in a dieback situation with my cork bark black pine, which is kind of like pride and joy kind of stuff. So to that end, I repotted this guy a short time back, and I saw that what I had was sort of what I had suspected all along. I'd had a watering issue, and it was probably caused by a mistake I made. But whether it was or wasn't, what I found was a layer of roots that had dieback on the bottom, and that dieback had caused it to not drain. So that tree was not draining properly, and that led to all that yellow and some of that dieback and some of those other things you see. And the good news is I didn't lose my tree. The other good news that I would add to that is in the time since then, I have probably doubled what I know about Japanese black pines, and in particular cork bark black pines. So, just a little catch up. You can see that it's got a hella amount of yellow needles on it, and they are total. There's not like one spot here and one spot there that would say we had some insect. It's total, which I've since learned is another indication of a root issue. And the root issue was caused by the root stem back and clogging up and causing a drainage issue, which caused them to lose their balance. And like anybody who has got those training videos in their head, and they're very, very useful, the balance of oxygen and water. So that's what we're looking at there. I've got the tree, what I think now is on a really good track. I was probably borderline. I think I was probably okay on my watering before that happened. But if there's a good, better, best, I was probably leaning a little bit on the heavy water end of that, because I didn't get away with that for very long. Perhaps if I'd have been a little bit more on the underside of watering, which would have come with experience and less paranoia over lack of water, then I would have had a little leeway. Or it might be that that's just nonsense and I can't let it go. But anyway, it's been raining now for 4 days, and I would not really, I don't think it's great necessarily that it's been watering this tree for that long. But I've decided that having pruned the roots back, I pruned the roots back in that I took off the dead growth. It wasn't really hard. It would fall away. The dead growth would actually just fall away. So I teased it back enough to do that. Put it in some soil that for me was better draining. And I didn't know that we were in the middle of an akadama shortage. So probably a good thing I've got a couple. I probably got a bag and 3/4 of that Boone mix hanging out for me for a minute. So I think the tree is on a good recovery plan, and as soon as I figure out what I did with my wedge, I will throw the wedge back underneath this tree, because right now as it stands, we're still sitting on a 40% chance of rain for the rest of the day and tomorrow, and I wouldn't be surprised if it rains tomorrow or in the next couple of days. So whereas normally I would water this tree and let it dry out for probably 3 days, it's coming out of a situation where it was overwatered, and now it's been rained on for 4 days straight. But the problem we had before was caused by a draining issue, and I've taken care of that, and rainwater is better than other water, so that's taken care of that. And and what I'm going to do now, because it's been raining so much, is I'm going to put my wedge back underneath it. And if I don't find my wedge, if I don't see what I did with my wedge, I don't see it laying around here, I'll prop it up with something else until it won't end up, so that it will exchange the water in that planter a little quicker, and exchange that with good old air, probably just in time for rain again. And if it looks like to me like it's just going to get soaked for the next week, I might move it back to here. But all of my indications kind of tell me that the tree is in a good spot to be a healthy tree, all things considered. And rainwater being a good thing, my preventative measures hopefully being a good thing, more than they were a bad thing. I also did some stuff wrong. That's probably a video. That's probably its own video. Maybe I'll do a beginning of the year. I already did one this year of what I've learned about ponderosas in my time with ponderosas. Maybe I'll do everything I did wrong in 2021 Yeah, that's an idea for later. Anyway, I'm sure that'll be fun. But and that's part of it too. I learn more from my mistakes than than just sailing along. For instance, this tree is intimidating. It's beautiful. It's 75 years old. As long as everything looked absolutely perfect, I'm like, things are going well. Don't mess with it, rookie. And but when it went off the rails, it went off the rails quick, and I didn't know what the hell to do, and that's no fun. But so yeah, and to that end, I probably went reaching for the chemicals a little before I should have, to some extent. When I started being more careful with the watering, I was already well on the way to being on the right track. I was going to limp along until I repotted it, but I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the confidence to know whether or not I was going to help it or hurt it. It had to continue to go down the slide a little bit for me to go, yeah, it can't be, I can't do worse than this. So that's kind of what we lived and learned there. My other pine is doing good. My 2-year-old pine is doing good. My sweet potato, as I refer to it, is looking really good. And I'm trying to get some ideas. I'm trying to get some ideas about something that I could, there's some possibilities to work with things in that tree. So, yeah, that's kind of where I am there. Now, let's see. I didn't water anything here because everything here has been watered, including this guy. It's kind of hard to tell this mix when it's dry or when it's wet, but I happen to know that it has gotten very well watered over the last 4 days. And I'm also glad that the temperatures are finally dropping some. I mean, it's nice, and I've got a Muppet fur jacket on, but it's a little warm for that. It's probably the low 50s, but tonight it'll drop down into the 40s. I'd like to see some lower temperatures for my ponderosas, to kind of, a little welcome home with them. But they're both looking really well. And if these guys go maybe watered every 4 days, these guys would go watered every maybe every 6. They like if the in a seesaw or a teeter-totter, if oxygen is on one end and water is on the other, those guys are going to have the balance point's going to be kind of in the middle, water and oxygen. And these guys, the teeter-totter is going to lean more towards the oxygen end. It would rather have the air than rather have the water in there. But just because it can go all that time clinging to a crack in the rock without getting watered in the wild, that doesn't mean it can go that long in a pot. There's no tap root trying to find water way down in the ground where none of us can see that the ground is still kind of damp colored. So yeah, people are at the pool. Evidently it's that warm. Well, no, they were at least at the hot tub. Yeah, hot tub. No, thank you. That's our next round of clouds on the horizon. We'll probably get some more rain, but because of all of that, my watering today just came down to the cypress. That side of the planter probably already got well and truly watered today, but you can see the wind's it's still really breezy, and you can hear the wind rustling through the cypress needles. But the side that we're on looked dry, like it didn't get any water. It probably got sprinkled on, probably even more than I realized, but it wouldn't hurt it. It's part of our daily routine to throw water to our cypress trees. I don't guess whether or not they'll need it, and I always know. Also, I've been having problem with runoff on this tree. It's got a really hard root mass there, and a lot of times if I didn't just go to a slow trickle, it would just ski slope right off. So I did a little trench work around there, and that slowed that down enough to make that neater and to make that more worthwhile. And is it just me, or is this base starting to get really thick during this winter? I think I'm seeing some girth there. It's really good to see that. And that's a little quick look at our cork bark oak, our Quercus suber. Really forgiving tree. Not hard to grow. Wherever you decide you want a branch poking, prune it back to a leaf facing that direction, and give yourself a little room for dieback if need be, and you should probably get your next branch will probably come from the bud site located at where that leaf is. These are also evergreen, so even in a proper winter, I would be looking at some really pretty growth. And I'm looking for this to get really full and ramify. Now, when it comes to my trident maple, I'll probably bring this to my bonsai club meeting in Oakland, which is the East Bay Bonsai Society, and have a little talk with the wisers. I'm wondering if I should do a cutback now. I think this section here is just too long with nothing happening, and that section likewise. And it might be that I would, but I want to talk that over with somebody who is more of a maple person than I am. I haven't been power dropping the how to maple videos the way I have everything else. Although I am thinking this will probably be a main branch, and I may chop that back to there at some point. That's the first idea I have. I also don't like necessarily this slingshot. Like maybe get rid of that one and use the two, or anyway, those are a couple of ideas. You're not supposed to, you're supposed to not like scar these guys up, but as you can see, those are already rolling over things, and it's probably done that in 2 or 3 years. But I'm not sure I like those 3 trunks, and since Patricia has so much to learn about this anyway, maybe starting back at a base structure that's a little bit more pleasing to start with. Or maybe I've just looked at this too long and somebody would go, no, don't mess with that, you're doing fine. But I don't think so. I think that could use some work, and I think that if I'm patient, and I could be patient enough to give this tree the time that it needs to be something I really like. I really like what I'm seeing on the base, and I really like I like the way it's slanted. I've never been crazy about that pot, but it didn't pick the pot, so I'm not really holding that against it. So let's see, that'll be the second Wednesday in January whenever I'll be lugging that. So hopefully by then it will have been enough winter for my trident maple to feel the winter coming on, and then I'll be able to make some better decisions. 2022. Yeah. Well, I think as I mentioned earlier, I'm not really one for resolutions, but it doesn't seem like a bad idea to pick a few facts maybe about watering or something and try to learn about. That sounds worthwhile. You'll often hear people say, don't overwater, or these guys like a lot of water, but sometimes you don't really hear a good definition of what a lot of water is, or what a little water is. What is a little water? What is too much? What is too little? Don't overwater it compared to what? So that would be a question that I probably, in hindsight, should have asked more, if for no other reason than I would have been less paranoid about it, less often. But yeah, time to learn it all. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you on our next drop, which will be Wednesday.